Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Nemer and Celeste. Once more, I am joined by, well, none other than Sebastian Garcia. If you missed it, we made our first video together, right? First of three series involving the goalkeepers and the defenders. We had a couple of your questions. We gave our thoughts, our opinions, and now it's time for part two, which is the midfielders, right? We started from the back. Up next are the midfielders.
Hello,
So,
everybody. Yeah, thanks, Roy, for having me. It's a pleasure, like always. I really enjoyed the first part that we did. I think it's going to generate a lot of different arguments and debate and discussion because there's a lot of decisions to be made by Scaloni. And now
yeah.
in midfield, I think it's even worse.
I mean, you said midfield is even worse. I mean, I just pulled up the screen now in terms of the midfielders that we have, and it's look, obviously the main ones that pop out here are Paredes, Celso, De Paul. Those have been the three that are kind of consistently selected, let's say, so to speak. If we're looking, here's just a better look. It's really those three. We have Buendia, who's maybe not so known in Argentina, but kind of known in England in the championship. You have the likes of Guido Rodriguez as well, Nicolas Dominguez. So Scaloni does have some choices. I know in part one you mentioned you would probably put Marcos Acuna uh,
Yeah,
in midfield. So what would be your selection? What would you go with in midfield, Seba?
I think first of all, this is conditioned by what we've been discussing in the other video, and for those who didn't see it, we were talking about whether Scaloni will go with a back three, like three center backs and two flanks, wing backs, or a traditional back four. So depending on what he does, I think we should be considering the different options, right? Because what do
Mm,
we want to do? Do we want to go with two central midfielders and two wide players? Do we want to go with a midfield of five people? And how do you line them up? So if it's a back four and then it's a traditional 4-4-2 with two midfielders in the middle of the park and two down the wings, it's a different matter. It's a different situation. In any case, I think the first name when you're talking about midfielders, he has to be Leandro Paredes because he provides you with the best of both worlds. He's a ball playing midfielder who can also mark. He can also win the ball back. He's got. He needs to improve a little bit of decision making and try to go easy on some tackles, but overall he's doing a great job. I think he's an accomplished player and only gonna get better with time. So he's there, and to me, Rodrigo De Paul is another midfielder that could can make can be left out. He has to play in my team. He's always gonna play. So maybe those two will get the debate going in this
yeah.
case, because I think these two are the ones that have to play. The rest I can do without, or we can see where we put them, and it will depend a
Mhm.
lot on how you want to play, right? If you are
Right.
going to play with an enganche or not. So it's a lot of decisions to make there too.
It's It's a lot, absolutely. And the players that you mentioned, it's kind of because the problem that we've had the past couple of years was always Messi kind of dropping back to midfield, getting the ball and having to create something. Now it looks like the first time in a couple of years, I'm not going to say the first time in Messi's career, because at one point, there was Riquelme and Veron and other players, but maybe for the first time in the past 2-3 years, we actually have a decent midfield, or a midfield that's comfortable enough on the ball moving forward, that's able to create something for the attackers, whether it's Messi or Lautaro or Aguero, it doesn't matter. And out of those players, which one do you think that could really push forward and has to be that, I won't say that enganche, but kind of that one that really is the spark from midfield? Because if you look at 2014, when you had Mascherano and Biglia, it was much more pragmatic, maybe more conservative. Now you have the players to kind of move and get the ball forward. Which ones would you prefer to see have that responsibility and that role?
Yeah, you don't have an Ortega like back in the day. that
No.
was like the kind of player that you put there in midfield and you knew he was gonna progress with the ball no matter what. I don't see that. We don't have that kind of player. I don't see it in the names that we have right now. You could make an argument that that type of player is disappearing. In like, I don't think a lot of teams will say that they have one like those. That said, um, I didn't mention Lo Celso just before, but I think Lo Celso has a lot of great qualities. He's got an understanding with Lionel Messi, which is very important because he knows how to bring the ball forward to him, even from a deep lying position as well. So I think you could have the three of them, Paredes, Lo Celso, De Paul. They can be interchanging. These days,
Hmm.
football is very, very dynamic, so it's not like the greatest teams out there have a lot of players playing in set standard positions. They are interchanging their play. You
Right.
see, well, Manchester City is a perfect example of that. You don't know, you don't know who's gonna be the first one to get into the opposing area because it could be De Bruyne, it could be Bernardo Silva, it could be
Gundogan,
anybody.
Bernardo
You
Silva.
could play without a number nine.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of thing. We don't have that much time to be training that kind of thing, but I think we have some talent that is very versatile. Rodrigo De Paul. I remember a game against Juventus, against Juventus playing for Udinese. He played as a holding midfielder, and he was immense. You see what he did that in that game, and he can perfectly play in that position. But
Yeah.
then, if the team is on the ball and is attacking and is doing well, he can be an enganche as well. He can play just behind the two or three
The two strikers.
attackers. Yeah, but then also you have to think about what you do if you play 3-5-2. Then there's more to play with in midfield, and you could play Acuna really open down the left, and you could use Buendia as a surprise element, and he can fit right into the team. I think he's got a lot of talent. He's used to be playing very tough, very difficult position. He's not just playing in the championship, which is a very, very um, important and talented league of full of talented players, all
It,
playing in national teams.
it is
But he
competitive.
also has.
Yeah.
It is really competitive. But he also played in the Premier League the season before. He's been consistent, and he can create. He can um, generate chances for others, and he can also score chances of his own. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm liking the idea of playing five in the middle with these names that I mentioned: Paredes, Lo Celso, De Paul in the middle, interchanging positions, not giving the other team a reference of who should mark who, because the Paul could be sitting down a
Yeah.
little bit, Lo Celso going a bit farther up the field. So you have a lot of versatility there, and then on the wings you can go with Acuna and Buendia as well, and then play two uh, up front. And we can get to
Up
that
front.
point in another in another video. But but yeah, it's a decision that you have to make. Is three at the back, I don't know. It's even Montiel could be a fifth
Yeah.
midfielder, and Buendia farther down. The good thing is that
Yeah.
you have
Or
options. Yeah.
you have options, absolutely. And you mentioned and I like that because it's like I said for the first time I think in a while we have that option. And as you mentioned, it is a dynamic team, and football has changed in general. It's not really, it's very rare that you look at a team and you know exactly, okay, this player is going to do this and he's going to stay on this side of the pitch the entire time. It's hybrid and everyone's changing. And I think that's what I like about this crop of midfield, the likes of Paredes, Lo Celso, and De Paul, is for the most part, they could all pass the ball. They have very good vision. They could move the ball running forward. They're all strong on the ball. They know how to shield the ball. They're not bad tacklers of it either. Although Paredes, like you mentioned earlier, has to kind of be careful not to get guarded too much. But they could kind of interchange and everything. And on the wings, you have Acuna, as you mentioned. You could play Buendia, possibly even Lucas Ocampos. I think Scaloni even tried Nicolas Gonzalez at one point versus Bolivia. I think he had him on the left back, left wing. So there is you have the players for it, and Scaloni has the players for it, and it's going to be very interesting to see how that puzzle kind of all comes together and fits, because at the end of the day, I think there is enough talent in midfield to get the ball forward and at the same time be able to defend and help out that back line, be it specifically in the middle or on the wings. And I love the versatility, because I feel like we were kind of stagnant for a couple of years where it was very bland. You would watch Argentina and you knew what you were going to get. Nothing against Mascherano. I love Mascherano to death. Nothing against Biglia or Augusto Fernandez, but you knew what you were going to get with them. Mascherano moving forward, not as good as De Paulo, Celso, or Paredes. Biglia at one point as well, or Enzo Perez. So it's good to see this young group of players actually getting the matches together, because these three specifically have been playing in midfield and starting in midfield for Argentina for probably since Scaloni took over almost 2 or 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
So, and
that's important, because they're getting
it's coming
experience.
Together.
Yeah. And they're getting more experience, and playing next to Messi is not easy. You have to be up at a standard, at a certain level, and you have to be aware of his speed. It's not easy to play.
Yeah.
Obviously, I remember Dybala once said, it's not easy playing next to Messi, and he was killed by the media. I think I noticed, and I realized the meaning of what Dybala was saying, because people were saying, "Oh, if it's difficult to play next to Messi, try playing next to Marcos Rojo." That's even worse. That's even more difficult. But you know the point. It's nothing against Marcos, but it's just the first name that I thought about. But I get what Dybala was saying. It's not easy. You have to be at your best, and if you're not, you get exposed. That's the meaning. That's the meaning
Absolutely.
of what Dybala was saying. And these guys, as I said, are connecting well with him. All of these guys have good chemistry, good understanding with Messi. When Messi has to drop back, they know where to find him. They know how to cover for him. So I think it's in that sense, this group of people, this group of players are only gonna get better in this sense as well. So I have a lot of confidence in them. I don't know about like, for example, big names that could be missing. I don't know if you thought about that.
Yeah.
But, is
I mean,
Papu,
you mentioned them. Papu Gomez is there. Alejandro Gomez is there. He's right. Where is he? Right here,
because
actually. Right under
I
foot.
think Scaloni sees Papu in a role that is very difficult, because I think Scaloni doesn't see Messi and Papu playing together. I think Papu is there in case Messi can make it, or if Messi is too tired or needs to take a breather, he can play instead of Messi. But at least that's what I'm trying to figure out from Scaloni's mind.
Yeah.
I would play them together. I would try him sitting just behind Messi. He could be an enganche at certain points. He can play wider on the field. He can be a provider. I think he's a great player to have, and it's I would say it's an embarrassment of Rich, because to have him in the bench, that says a lot about the talent that we have.
Yeah. No, there's definitely talent. I mean, it goes back to the days when you had Riquelme, you had Veron, and you had Aymar, and Gallardo, and they essentially all kind of played a very similar role, and then one got selected over the other. And I think what's happening now, and like you said, it's an embarrassment of riches, but I think what's happening now is similar to before, in the sense of, I think Alejandro Gomez got picked instead of Dybala, because I think Scaloni kind of sees him in a similar role. I don't think Scaloni sees Dybala obviously as a striker, nor as a winger, nor even as a center forward. I think he sees Dybala more of a midfielder, and he sees him, or kind of that Messi role, right? Like you mentioned, same thing with Papu Gomez. And I think you have those three players. You have Messi, you have Papu Gomez, and you have Dybala, where they kind of all occupy one space. There's no doubt about who's number one in that pecking order. And then it's just kind of who's number two, who's number three. And I think Gomez is there at the expense of Dybala. I think Scaloni kind of sees Dybala as there was probably potentially only just one match for Dybala where he played very, very well under Scaloni, and I think that was the Copa America versus Chile. I think that was the one match. Other than that, I don't think Dybala has really impressed Scaloni, and obviously this season with COVID and the injuries and everything that hasn't helped. So it's going to be interesting. I think Messi's backup in this team absolutely is Papu Gomez now that Dybala is not there. Is not there.
I agree. Yeah,
now,
Dybala had a
would you have selected Dybala?
I would have selected him, even though he hasn't been up to his standards when he was playing for Argentina. I don't think he's quite made it. He didn't make an impression for Argentina. Maybe that's the reason why he's not being considered at this point. Yeah. But the good thing is that he still has a lot of potential. He's really young. He's playing at a top level. Maybe this time around that he's not being called up will be a motivation for him. But I guess it's a great opportunity to see his character and to see how he comes back. If he really wants to play for Argentina, if he really gets that
if he has that motivation and gets that spark of. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, the spark, the fire that he needs
to feel the shirt. You need him to feel the shirt, to want to feel the shirt.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And Dybala is another one of those, because Dybala is 27 right now, and if he's not picked next year at 28, then his potentially only World Cup will be when he's 31 or 32 years old. And at 31, 32, for someone to make the World Cup debut at that age, I mean, obviously time will tell, and we can never know, but this really feels like a do or die, like a now or never type of thing for Dybala. And next season, I know we're very early, but the next season coming up is a defining one, I think, for Dybala and his national team career, because if he doesn't do well, if he's not selected, then if he thought that being excluded from this Copa America was a disappointment, I could only imagine what it's going to be like being left out for Qatar next year, assuming Argentina qualify, which hopefully they should.
Yeah. And assuming Scaloni is still a manager, there's a lot of things to assume.
Assuming there's even a World Cup.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely agree with you. Yeah.
Was there any other name? So there is one more name, and I kind of wanted to leave this for the striking position, but he's rumored to start in midfield for Argentina versus Chile. I have to. I'm sorry, Seba. I have to. It's everyone's favorite. I know it's your favorite. You wanted him to be captain. You wanted him to have the number 10 shirt for Argentina. You wanted him to take the penalties, the free kicks, the corners, the everything. Angel Di Maria.
You forgot I wanted him to take the highway as well, but
the highway, leave the country, leave the stadium, and go back to Paris.
I mean, I have nothing against Angel as a person. I think it's a great guy, an accomplished footballer, fantastic at club level. But I'm actually not very happy that he's being called up again. I know he's got a lot of plaudits. I know he had a great season for PSG this term, but to me, I've seen enough of him not cutting it at the very defining moments. Not just the injuries, which could happen. I think there could be a factor of like a psychological factor that you get injured in every final or in every decisive game. In every top competition, he gets injured in World Cups, in Copa America. It's not that. You could put it down to bad luck, but in terms of performances, he's not producing the goods when it matters. He's not playing like he plays for his club, and not even at a decent enough level, in my opinion. I think his decision-making ability hasn't changed that much. throughout the years, and his speed is a bit down from his very best. So he's the type of player that doesn't get better with age, in my opinion, because there's a heavy reliance on the physical aspects, the speed, the reactions, the quickness. He's going to lose that as time goes by, and he's not a player that can complement that with a top brain, footballing brain, in terms of seeing where everybody is, taking the right decision at
Footballing
the
IQ.
right moment. Yeah, if footballing IQ is the one thing that I've never seen in him. I think the only manager that got the best out of him was Sabella, back in that build up to the World Cup. He was destroying defenses, but Sabella did something very clever, which was to bring the team a bit further back and hit the teams on the counter attack. So Di Maria had 60 meters to run with the ball, and he could be very explosive there and cause problems to the opposition. But other than that, I have highlights in my head of him not being up to what it takes. And I know it's divisive, and I know there's a lot of people who think it's one of the best players in the world. Unfortunately, I don't see it, and I don't see him delivering the goods for Argentina. Hopefully he shuts me up, shuts my mouth, gives us a great performance if he has to play. I don't necessarily see him as a terrible thing coming on second halves when we're winning by 2 or 3 goals. I wouldn't be against that decision, but in general terms, I wouldn't pick him.
Yeah. No, I understand, and obviously we've always kind of messaged on and off throughout the years regarding Di Maria, so that's why I tease you a little bit about it.
Yeah,
and I do understand, and sometimes as like especially this season, I'm watching Di Maria and wow, he's playing so well. And last season, even in the Champions League final last season, in my opinion, he was probably the best player on the pitch, and this season he continuously did well at PSG, and I'm like, is this the same Di Maria? Because he was, I'm not gonna say he turned back the clock, but you mentioned the best Di Maria that we saw was in the build up to 2014, and those that 2-year period, 2012 2013. But don't forget, that was a much younger Di Maria and a more I'm not gonna say more disciplined, but maybe tactically Sabella was more disciplined with him than maybe a Scaloni is right now or Sampaoli was before. And that I fully agree, we had the absolute best Di Maria, that counter-attacking Di Maria. And, he does help out defensively. He does track back and everything. But I think we have better options moving forward. I think off the bench, it's a big gamble with him. We saw it at the Copa America, and we always see it. But when you bring Di Maria off or on from the bench, it's a hit or miss. It's either he will get you that goal and he's going to torment the defense, which probably happens once every 10 matches, or he's just gonna go in, and when he should shoot, he crosses, and when he should cross, he shoots. It's a difficult one with him. And again, like you said, I'm sure he's a nice person. Nothing against him personally. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess we've been, I don't want to say disappointed, but we've seen what he's capable of doing on the pitch, and I think his time, especially at his age, I think it's time to kind of look for a different solution, and I think we have the players for it.
Yeah, I'm curious of knowing what the viewers, what the readers say, would like to say about this, because I know it's divisive, and I would love to see some comments below. In
the bottom, leave a comment. So you're gonna have the like button somewhere here, and you're gonna have the subscribe button somewhere here. But no, absolutely, definitely leave us a comment. What do you think? What do you think the midfield should be? Should be a 4-man midfield, a 5-man midfield? If so, what are the names? What do you think of Dybala's exclusion? Do you side with Seba in terms of Di Maria? Should he absolutely be banned from the Argentina national team squad, or are you someone that would like to see him start or even on the bench? Let us know. Leave a comment. I'm just going through the list of names. I don't see anyone else really. The rest are really in attack when Correa and Messi, Lautaro and Ocampos and stuff. So that's gonna be for the next video. But regarding the midfield, Seba, was there anything else you wanted to add?
I think it's crucial that we get it right. I think Scaloni has a lot on the line on this one. Really looking forward to seeing the team play again. I think it's a fantastic rival we have in front of us. It's a team that can really create a lot of problems. It's a team that beat us in 2 different Copa Americas, so we really should send a message, play with authority, and dominate. And the midfield, if we want to dominate, will have a big say in what happens in the game. So, as I said, it's tough decisions. There's a lot of tough decisions that Scaloni has to make, and probably midfield is going to be the heart of the team. It's going to be really, really key that he gets it right. Looking forward to it. So.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more, especially against this Chile side, and obviously Colombia coming up after. And the first match is a home match. Once more, there are no fans, obviously, because of COVID. But still, the fact, they are playing at home in Argentina, so hopefully that adds a little bit. I'm not going to say pressure, but hopefully it helps the squad a little bit. And that midfield, I'm expecting a very physical match, a very combative Chilean side, and like you said, the 2 Copa finals, and the less said about those, the better.
Yes, of course.
Perfect. All right. So thank you for joining us, everyone. My name is Roy Nemer. I'm joined by the one and only. Well, I don't know if the one and only. I don't know. The Garcia family seems pretty big worldwide.
There's a lot of Sebastian. Yeah, I've met several Sebastian Garcia, so don't worry. But yeah, I'm the one and only Sebastian Garcia who is linked to Mundo Albiceleste. Let's say it that way.
There you go. So my name is Roy Nemer, Mundo Albiceleste. This is Sebastian Garcia, Mundo Albiceleste. The only Sebastian Garcia you need to know and you have to know is joining me right now. So thank you for joining us, everyone. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, leave us a comment. What do you think? This was part 2 of our video. We're going to have part 3 shortly regarding the strikers. So once more, thank you for joining. And as we always used to end it, vamos, vamos, Argentina. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.